Hi, hi everyone. It is July 1, July 1. 6 more months of this lovely year. And YouTube just keeps changing things. So, yeah, dial up internet. I know it sucks. You don't have to remind me. It was the worst today since I've been here. The absolute worst. But the subscriber who has a new phone, and it's Verizon, the hotspot is Verizon, and even just on her phone, she gets all of the buffering. So, Alicia DeMoss and Sandra, hello, Steve Ladner. I don't know why you're stuck on that. I said that it has nothing to do with my hotspot being way too hot or my internet equipment being too hot. That's not what's happening, Steve. I've said that. So, and tape to the window with an ice pack. Okay. No. It's also happening to the subscriber's phone. So, something's happening. Oh, I guess the satellite is just not sending a very strong signal to this area. It's very frustrating, and boy, does it really challenges you to work even harder on your patients. There's only so much you can do. Andrew Cruz, hello. Rage Against the Machine, hello. And T. Lamb, good to see you. The 90s Brooklynite, hey. Kim Blanchard, Space Indian Sith Trish, Czech Rock Stars, always nice to see you. Jay Northrup and Tom and Barb and Blues, Sunny Fournier, hey, nice to see you. James B. Greetings from Europistan. Hey, Czech. So, yeah, very few in, which is fine. One of the reasons people have said do the lives on Never Lose Truth. I don't want to because I can barely handle the live stream with the numbers that I have now. I don't want to go to a channel that has a lot of subscribers because and it's hard to pay attention to the chat while you're doing the live stream. And because of the internet being so slow, it's not just YouTube, but just opening websites, opening pages, I have very little. So I'm going to focus on a window that has been open for a couple of days. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people who are not blessed, Sandra. There's an awful lot of people who are not. And let's just get to radar. More destruction. But this is current radar. Look at Nebraska. Doesn't look good for central Nebraska and South Dakota, North Dakota. Again, they had forecasted rain. We didn't get it. Just that cloud coverage that makes the day very dark and eerie. And with all of the military planes flying, I mean, an hour ago, I walked outside, 4 military jets flying really low, and I'm like, hearing that noise, and they just fly by. I want to say numerous times a day, but that sounds like a lot. Several times a day, for sure. And I've never lived in a place like this. It kind of gets to you, gets to your nerves, especially when they're flying low. So yeah, the nanobots are out, our nano soldiers are out, working it. Tornado alert, let's see if it expired. No. So Nebraska heads up. Nebraska, Buffalo, Kearney, severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located over Axtell and Holdridge. Be very careful because it's not going to expire for about another 24 minutes. But for today, we had, quite a bit. Nebraska, Maine, Aroostook, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Minnesota, Kansas, Iowa. Yeah, we just don't get regular rain anymore. Severe weather alerts. Let's refresh. We've got Arizona, Cochise, New Mexico, Donna Ana, Otero, also Nebraska and Buffalo and Franklin and Harlan and Kearney and Phelps. Wow, Natrona, Wyoming. There, you got your supercell. You got your extremely low frequencies throwing off a band of plasma, as far as I'm concerned, that could ignite into supercells. Look at this. Beaumont, Texas, I-10 West has a huge crack. So they have, here we go. They have shut down the interstate. I mean, you get a big picture of what's happening in our country, and you can't help but say, holy shit. Things are not good. So a lot of inconvenience for people, a lot of destruction for sure, but even those who are still living comfortably are inconvenienced left, right, and center, which is, it gets to you when it's continual. So I'm going to play some of this. I hope it plays. Hurricane Beryl. Is it going to hit Texas? Now, this is a Category 4 that apparently just went over an island, and you would think that that island has been taken out. Look at this.
Story right now is Hurricane Beryl, Category 4 hurricane with 150 mile per hour winds. Hurricane Beryl just made landfall in the Windward Islands earlier this morning, passing near Grenada and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and now it enters the Caribbean, where it's expected to move westward heading into this week, perhaps reaching the Yucatan by this weekend. Let's take a closer look at Beryl. This is a zoomed in visible satellite loop of it moving directly over the island of Carriacou just about an hour ago. Widespread extensive damage has been reported on the island, and we'll continue to keep you updated on the latest information with that. But Beryl has already broken a ton of records. This is very unusual for the beginning of July. Now, Beryl formed in June and became a hurricane during the month of June. Here's some of the records. Strongest June hurricane on record. It's also the earliest Category 4 hurricane on record. episode. Beryl's also the first June major hurricane to occur east of the Lesser Antilles. And also, Beryl this morning became the strongest storm to ever hit the Windward Islands, stronger than both Hurricane Allen in 1980 and Hurricane Ivan in 2004, both of which were Category 3 hurricanes. So this is unprecedented on many levels. Here's the latest information from the National Hurricane Center. 150 mile per hour winds, so Beryl just below Category 5 strength this morning. And over the next several days, Beryl's going to race across the Caribbean. We call these Caribbean cruisers, by the way. On Wednesday, somewhere near Jamaica, and then as we head towards Friday, making landfall in the Yucatan Peninsula. Now, Beryl is expected to weaken some. There's going to be some wind shear in the Western Caribbean that should at least weaken it some, but moving over the Yucatan will for sure weaken it before moving into the southern Gulf of Mexico heading into this weekend. But what happens beyond that? Well, we're starting to get some good consensus from our computer models today that Beryl will move westward generally into northern Mexico. I can't rule out southern Texas, but that high pressure over the south does look pretty stout, which should steer it into northern Mexico or maybe the Rio Grande Valley. We'll keep a close eye on that. Behind Beryl, we're also watching Invest 96L this morning. Poorly organized at the moment, just a cluster of showers and storms. National Hurricane Center gives this a medium 60% chance of development as it moves off to the west over the next several days, following Beryl through the Lesser Antilles, and it could be somewhere into the Caribbean as we head into the weekend. We'll
All right, well, you guys in the Gulf states, watch out. When was this? 1 hour?
More than a month after the storm at the end of May caused...
Cleanup from these storms takes a very, very long time. Cities across Dallas County continues clean up debris 1 month after windstorm. Yeah, well, so, you know, that huge fire that, wow, it was very powerful. It took out, I don't know, something like 2,500 homes, businesses, structures in New Mexico. Reduso. Well, now, evacuations due to flash flooding, a whole lot of damage, once again, in the same exact area. Boy, piling it on much?
Vámonos ya, nosotros ¿sabes?
The village of Ruidoso has issued an immediate evacuation order after flash flooding was reported in the Rio Ruidoso on Sunday afternoon, June 30th. Flash flooding is ongoing on the Rio Ruidoso and could potentially impact the Midtown district. Flood warning has been issued by the National Weather Service until 8 p.m. Sunday for the affected areas, namely South Fork and South. While several roads were closed due to flooding Sunday around 5:30 p.m., namely Matcham and Brady Canyon, Gavilan Canyon between Sutton and Minder, Paradise Canyon, Creamy Meadows, and Hull.
Yeah, certainly a lot of RVs got hit.
Flash flooding is devastating the Ruidoso area, and more rain is on the way this week. News 13's Madison Connor joins us now live in the Newsplex with the very latest.
Yeah, this is what parts of Ruidoso looked like over the weekend. Water rushed down Highway 70. You can see here that water was moving so quickly. The pure force of it was moving multiple vehicles, including trucks and dumpsters, along with it.
We've never seen anything like it here. I can tell you that it was pretty crazy. Just the sheer amount of water that was, coming through the town.
Back-to-back natural disasters continue to create a scary scene around Ruidoso. The Village of Ruidoso says water levels in the area got as high as 8 or 9 feet, about flood stage in some spots on Sunday. after 2 to 4 inches of rain fell over the weekend. Areas along the Upper Canyon and the intersection of Sutterth and Highway 70, where this video was taken, are getting hit the worst. When flooding initially barreled through town on Saturday, first responders rescued 26 people from the rising water. Sunday, that number jumped up to 51 swift water rescues.
Back-to-back natural disasters. They're natural disasters. That's right. Natural disasters that they have the technology to stop, but they don't. And if they have the technology to stop these natural disasters, they have the technology to start them.
Thanks, Brandon. At least 2 areas in Ruidoso were forced to evacuate because of the flash flooding. Several roads near the village are closed tonight, including US 70 near Sutterth, which is one of the main roads in and out of town. Village leaders tell us they're getting hit harder tonight than they did yesterday. This is video from Cree Meadows Creek Saturday. You can see that black sludge quickly eroding the ground there. Monica Logroño joins us in the newsroom with what the community needs to know. Monica, you spoke with Ruidoso officials. What do they have to say?
Well, Felice, the main message they want to get across, take these evacuation orders seriously. During flash flooding, you have to get to higher ground immediately. Do not try to wait it out. Now, tonight, Upper Canyon and Midtown are under an evacuation order, and that comes as residents in Upper Canyon have been under that order since yesterday.
Sutterth, which is one of the main arteries.
They just got back, evacuate again. If those who got back still had a home standing from the first natural disaster, the fires. Oh, I want to remind myself, M. Tashunka, you have 2 nephews. I can't see where the, okay, too far ahead or behind. You have 2 nephews that have started a storm chasing channel on the Reyes. Could you, if you remember, leave the links to their channels underneath the video when it posts? I'd appreciate it. I'd like to check it out. Okay. Hope you heard that. So yeah, I mean, this is an interesting video that I just came across. This is in the UK. Why is food not growing? So I listened to this long enough to finally hear them talk about the geoengineering, the weather modification. Good, because I was getting a little frustrated. They were claiming that, well, why is food not growing? A whole lot of it has to do with the aluminum nanoparticulates that are sprayed in the atmosphere that come right on down into the soil. Why do you think? Well, when it was, now I think it's Bayer, but Monsanto patented aluminum resistant seeds. Why would we have so much aluminum in the soil? For them to patent aluminum resistant seeds. So you're always dependent on Monsanto slash, it was Bayer that took over Monsanto, right? 2 incredibly evil corporations. So they're having a hard time in the UK growing food. What does that mean for all of us? But it's also the weather, because, you know, I haven't heard recently, but there's an awful lot of cloud. No sun getting through. Food does not taste like food anymore. You're right, T-Lam. You're right. And just in the last couple of weeks, first of all, it feels like my stomach is being ripped apart a whole lot. Right now, I'm okay. Thank you. Whomever. Me, maybe. But wow, it just feels like everything that I put in my stomach, it is not sitting well. I had a piece of toast, one this morning, and I felt so full that never in my life have I experienced anything like that. So I don't know what is going on, maybe a culmination of things, but our food now, it's heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking. It is so disgusting. Why am I still hungry after eating a full meal? Thank you, Sis Trish. That's also something I'm experiencing. These weird hunger, I can't say they're pains, but it's like there's a constant, even after eating, I still feel like I'm hungry. But it's a weird kind of hungry. It's not the kind of hungry that you get after not eating for several hours and you look forward to a meal. No, it's a weird kind of hungry. And it's unsettling, so you eat a little bit more. Whoa, same here, stomach not right. Yeah. Our no nutrient food, our genetically modified food, our poisonous food is, shall I say, catching up with us. Hey, little one. So I'm glad you said that, Sith Trish, because I meant to mention it in a live. It is weird. Yeah. It's not a black ring in the toilet here. It's a yellowish ring that scrub and scrub, it doesn't come off. What is that? Sometimes, well, pretty much all the time, when I turn on the faucet, it smells like sewage. So I don't know. Everything has changed. It's and not for the better. So not for the better. Did I put that link in for you guys in the UK? Let me put it in now. So yes, I was very happy to hear that they actually talked about the geoengineering. Not enough, I think, but they did. They know it. What's going to happen? Still no answers for displaced residents. We have displaced Americans all over the place. And let me tell you, being displaced is very difficult to live. Losing your home and not being able to recreate a home is very difficult and painful. So, for all of the people who know displaced people, reach out to them. Be a support for them.
This unknown is so scary.
Yeah, fear about the future for the people who evacuated international towers and those who are helping them right now.
All right, so if any of you missed my lives where I was showing that international towers, they evacuated the entire building because a building next to them had an explosion. Now they're claiming that international towers is vulnerable and all of the residents had to get out, evacuate, and guess what? That was weeks ago. Still no answers for them.
Temporary housing. A big decision is just 2 weeks ahead. Hello, I'm Dave Sess.
I'm Lindsay Watson. Over a month ago, a gas explosion ripped through the Realty building in Youngstown, shutting down the area nearby.
It also forced more than 150 residents of an apartment building to leave their homes with no guarantees of when they can return. First News senior reporter Jerry Ricciuti has the latest.
Although there are now a pair of excavators and a crane sitting outside the damaged Realty building downtown, there's been little other visible activity and no word when residents of the now vacant International Towers next door will be able to go back home.
And I think that's one of the frustrating things. We can't tell the people that are asking us, and they are the ones that are absolutely being affected. What's going to happen? What's my next step?
Just over 2 weeks ago, the 155 residents of the high-rise were forced to leave, many taking whatever they could carry or stuff into boxes or luggage. They were evacuated after engineers said the Realty building was in imminent danger of collapse. Initially, the plan was to find shelter for 30 days.
We are just concerned about what's going to happen to these people after July 15th and beyond.
Is this going to be 3 more weeks? Is this going to be I don't know if anybody has that answer, but that's, I think, what everybody's looking for.
While leaders of local social service agencies wait to see what plans are put forth to make the downtown area safe again, bills to shelter all the evacuees are piling up.
Within days of the evacuation, the state's Office of Community Assistance came up with $200,000 to cover just hotel costs, but that's only for 1 month's time.
And the directors tell me they're also concerned about plans to eventually allow residents to return to their apartments.
We had 72 hours to move everybody. We got them moved. We're going to have to move them back into their homes.
These are our most vulnerable people in our community, and they're going to need all the assistance that that they can get.
In Youngstown.
And will they get it? Let's see. This is happening to so many people. Condos in Florida, people being thrown out of their condos. Oh, it's unsafe, get out after an inspection. This is going on across the board. And we know what the real estate market is. We know what trying to rent a place is like. We are forgotten inside the UK's late life homelessness crisis. Yes, people who go homeless, people in need, are forgotten, because the world is for those who are still comfortable. When you get sucked out of that, when a whole lot of forces come at you and you're out of that, you get to see your life doesn't really matter. And you are forgotten, because everything is catered to those who still have.
Trevor is 53 years old and homeless. He says he mostly sleeps on park benches, too scared to stay in a tent like the other rough sleepers do.
You don't want to be in a tent because there's a danger in the tent. Some people just come along and set your tents alight.
Set them on fire?
Yeah, while you're in it. That's why no one who has a tent will zip it up. You always have it open so you can get out.
For Trevor, this shocking account of what life is like on the streets of London is just another story for him. Because after a decade of being homeless, he says he's worn out, tired of living on the streets, but he also says he's tired of broken political promises too.
Every government has always said, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. They're not doing enough things for the homeless people. It's like we're forgotten.
Britain is in the midst of a housing crisis.
As every Western nation is. Doesn't help those in the UK, doesn't help Americans, doesn't help anybody to hear that. Yeah, things are not good. And yes, your TV is watching you. 7 ways it spies and how to stop it. I received this from a subscriber who, I'll put the link in. I'm not sure, it looks like a long link. Let's see if it fits. Yes, it did. Good. So if you want to, if you've got a TV that has a camera, and you might not even know it has a camera, look, it could be a very, very tiny, tiny hole in the front, on the, well, it's usually like black, the black panel not the screen. And if it does have a hole, it's watching you. Some smart TV models, I'd say every smart TV model, what's some? Some smart TV models include built-in cameras for video calls or gesture control features. However, these cameras pose potential privacy risks if compromised by hackers or misused by manufacturers to collect visual data from your home. Oh, so you can click on the link and learn how to. One of the ways is that you are to tape over the camera and then go into the settings and turn the camera off. But I don't know how good that works, because I've been noticing that when I turn things off on my computer, it goes right back on. Goes right back on. So with this hotspot, the Wi-Fi thing, this is the only device that is used from the hotspot, and I must have done it 10 times today. It's on to share, the Wi-Fi with other devices. I close it off, I save it. I went back a few minutes later, it's back on. That happened continuously. But that's happening across the board with me now. So, yeah, does it make me kind of question if anybody's inside here? Yeah. What can I do about it? But we've got someone inside all of these devices. Don't we know it? Very interesting Carl Vernon video. Interesting information that he imparts, and I believe that it's true.
You meet someone, typically somebody new, and you get a bit of a feeling. Some people call it a bit of a gut instinct. Just something don't feel quite right. You can't always put your finger on it, but you know that something ain't quite right there. Well, there's a reason behind it, and when I discovered this, it actually shocked me on what's behind it. Basically, there was a study that was done called Spain, not a country, not like the sun out today. No, Spain, S-P-A-N-E, Scale of Positive and Negative Experience. That's what the study was called. And before we get into that, let me ask you a question, because this was the shocking part to me. We are energy, we are frequency, if you like. That's what we put out. That's what our bodies are. That's what our minds are. What do you think is the most powerful frequency that we put out as humans? What do you think that is? Now, if you're like me and like pretty much everybody else, you will think that it's love, right? That was my immediate reaction. Love has to be the most powerful frequency that we put out. It has to be, right? It's not. No. The most powerful frequency that we put out as human beings, that we demonstrate to other people around us, is authenticity. Yeah, authenticity. When I discovered that, I don't know what it's done for you, because everybody's immediate reaction is, it has to be love. That's the most powerful of emotion. That has to be the most powerful energy and frequency. But knowing that it is in fact authenticity, what does that do for you? Because I tell you, it just rung a couple of bells for me in regards to understanding a little bit more about that gut feeling that you get. When you meet somebody and you think, well, maybe something isn't quite right there. It's all to do with this energy of authenticity. Some people are better at covering up their lack of authenticity, so it takes a little bit longer, maybe through things like bullying and abuse and gaslighting. They're very good at the manipulation side, so to catch them out initially is more difficult, but eventually you get that bit of a gut feeling. Eventually you get a feeling to think of something isn't quite right here. It's to do with this energy, the most powerful one that we put out, authenticity. Because eventually, whoever it is, they can't cover it up, because it will come out, because it's the most powerful of frequency, the most powerful of energy. Eventually you will get that gut feeling, and it will all start to make sense. That gut feeling is about a lack of authenticity, which is really interesting, isn't it? Because the other bell or light bulb, if you like, that rung or lit up for me in regards to this study and how it was conducted and what it meant and how it brought out authenticity, was that initial reaction of thinking that it is love, the most powerful frequency that we put out is love, but everything is a route to authenticity, isn't it? Including love, including the emotions, including everything that we go through, including all our experiences, including all the people that we meet. All of that leads up to the same thing, authenticity. Love is a route into authenticity. You can have different types of love, can't you? But again, you quickly discover the genuine types and the not so genuine types. Certainly over time you discover that, right? And that's why some people as well, I know we've spoken about the more nefarious side, but there's a lot of people that you might meet where you think there's a connection, there's a real positive connection. You don't always know why, you've just met them, but there's a real positive connection, just comes from nowhere. Maybe it's because your authenticity, your frequency, your energies of authenticity are connecting. And that's why. All leading into the same route. Love is a route into authenticity. Truth is a route, authenticity. It's fascinating stuff, but it's worthwhile noting on both sides why it is you feel the way you do when you meet certain people.
I will say that truth obviously is one of the ways to become authentic, but it's not the truth that's happening outside to all of us collectively. Your own truth, knowing who you are. And he says love and truth is a route to authenticity. I don't necessarily believe that. I think it's a lot of hard work to get to your authentic self. Very hard, because you have to face yourself in the mirror. You have to do that self-reflection, which is hard. And not a lot of people want to do it. I've said that there is a bad energy in our country because we don't have a lot of authentic human beings. We have a lot of very messed up human beings flinging about all of their issues and acting, pretending like there's something. And, they're being shoved around by their past, and they think that they're in the present. The past is very powerful indeed. You got to deal with it. You have to resolve the issues from the past for sure. But once you begin to recognize how powerful is the past in informing all of your decisions, in controlling your behavior, controlling your responses and your reactions, you realize that you're not in the present, you're not your authentic self, and you need to do some work. And that's the only solution we have to the madness that we're living. So do you think we're going to get out of this madness? No. So, I'm not going to go there right now. But we have a real problem. And I listened to this full stream as much as I could today without the buffering. And it's interesting how suddenly the buffering stops. No rhyme or reason. Okay, so I'm going to play some of this. How is the loneliness epidemic affecting society? It is affecting society so dramatically, drastically, radically, and it's not good. The effects are not good. So somehow we have to do that work on ourselves to maintain humanity, which means getting out there, connecting with people, saying hello to your neighbors, connection. The connection between people is so, that's what brings joy. When you have connection with other human beings, and I'm sorry, cyber world connections aren't that. It's real world connections. Trusting, relationships where you can trust people. And that alleviates anxiety. It brings a lot of joy. And that's where life really begins to blossom. Connection. We've lost it. A whole lot have lost it. And we come into the cyber world in the hopes to find some, but it's quite limiting, to say the least.
Hyper-connected yet disconnected. It's the paradox of our time. Why are we lonelier than ever in a world that's always online? Today we uncover the causes of the loneliness epidemic and ways to overcome it. I'm Annalise Borges, and this is The Stream.
Do you ever get lonely? Yeah, I think everyone gets lonely. That's almost like a daily struggle.
I often feel very lonely in the city.
What does it feel like? It feels like being lost, like in a maze.
With no hand reaching out to you, and you just don't really feel like climbing back out, or you just can't climb back out.
It feels like that feeling of like you're about to cry, but you just don't need to.
I live in a studio apartment, so oftentimes it's sort of trying to be comfortable with myself.
I think loneliness for me is not feeling understood, and I definitely don't feel understood if I can't understand myself. There always feels like this greater looming thing in me that brings on sadness.
From TikTok to Tinder, we're constantly plugged in. Yet nearly 70% of Gen Z and millennials report feeling lonely. The World Health Organization has identified loneliness as a major global health concern and warns the mortality impact of being socially disconnected is similar to that caused by smoking up to 15 cigarettes every day. To discuss why we feel so lonely and how to fix it, we're joined today by Annie G, a YouTube creator joining us from Sydney, Esther Fernandez, a copywriter at Made of Millions, an NGO focusing on changing how the world perceives mental health. She'll be talking to us down the line from LA, and Simone Heng, a human connection specialist. She's joining us from Singapore. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. Simone, you wrote a book about this. It's called Let's Talk About Loneliness. Can we start with a definition? What does it mean to be lonely?
So loneliness is the gap between the type and amount of human connection you desire and the type and amount of human connection you're currently getting. And it's based, therefore, on perception, which means you can absolutely be surrounded by people, but if you're not getting the connection needs you desire met, you will still feel lonely.
That's very interesting because that is therefore very hard to measure because it's so unique to each one of us, right? Esther, why would you say we feel so lonely these days?
Yeah, I think social media is a really great tool, and I think any tool can be used, for good or for bad. And I think what started as more of like a substitution became the only thing that we consumed. I think one big reason why Gen Z is starting to feel really lonely is because we're not actually putting what we're consuming into action. And it's very easy to just become, addicted to scrolling, but not actually going out and doing things. For example, on TikTok, we see a lot of people say, here's places to travel to or books to read, but we don't actually travel to those places or read those books. So I think, lack of action and just using only social media.
Short-term dopamine hit that comes from more superficial interactions rather than us going out into the real world and obtaining those meaningful interactions that give us a longer lasting dopamine response that makes us feel good for the rest of the day.
Everybody else is nodding. Esther, is that what parasocial relationships mean?
Yeah, so parasocial is usually used in the context of celebrity. Share a lot about their lives. They might be tweeting or maybe they have a TV show. And so people are gaining a lot of information about them. And so the connection feels very intimate and personal, but in reality, it's very one-sided. It's one person sharing a lot of information and you think that you know them. And I like to say that I feel like social media has caused parasocial relationships with people that we know. So maybe someone that we connected with back in middle school or a friend that we might even see day to day, we might not connect with them and have that like actual intimate personal conversation because we say, well, I saw what you posted on your story, I saw your TikTok, but that's not actually like a form of communication. It's very one-sided. And so I just think it's very interesting that social media makes it appear like we're connected, but when we actually sit down and think about it, we're just kind of consuming this one-sided story. And in reality, like a lot of people say, social media is just a highlight reel. So even the information that we are consuming from our friends, like to her point, it's very surface level. And so I think it can cause that disconnection because we're not actually, seeing all parts of people's lives, not the messy parts or the vulnerable parts. And I think that's the part that makes us feel most connected is when we're able to be open with one another.
Absolutely. Simone, you wanted to add something there.
Yeah, I'm dying over here. So I'm an old millennial. I'm 40 years old. So what we know is that, and all of the experts in the human connection space and the loneliness space know this, we have to be using social media as the way station, not the destination. And that's the difference between Gen Z and a lot of the other generations is that social media becomes the destination instead of the way station. And that's when it gets really dangerous. I want everyone to think of social media and online connection without the in real life component as the junk food equivalent of in-person real life connection. So you're getting that immediate yummy factor, the dopamine hit, but you're getting none of the social nutrition. The quota of hormones that we get from in-person touch, the oxytocin, the long-term immunity boosting hormones we get from in-person connection, we only get a slight amount of those from digital interaction, but not enough to satiate us. And I want to just say regarding the vulnerability factor, there's something really interesting happening online now. And I love that Esther mentioned this about that we're not seeing the messy side. I think what's happening now is celebrities, public figures know this, and they're commodifying vulnerability. They're showing the messy side in order to get likes and views. And that in itself, the commodification of vulnerability is something, I think that's the next big trend we need to worry about on social media. And we see this with podcasts and people giving their pain kind of download, their pain porn online. And this is also a manipulation and inauthenticity and connection that I think we need to watch out for.
Yeah, that sounds indeed very dangerous. It's interesting because we're talking about how technology is harming us in a way, but it's the way we use technology. I want to bring the conversation to the offline world a little bit because I want to share a clip we found on social about how our cities and the way we go about our daily lives in them are also contributing to our isolation. Take a listen.
We're losing all of our places to sit. There is nowhere to sit down, for free at least. And I've seen loads of videos on TikTok recently to do with third spaces, which got me thinking. Third spaces are somewhere that isn't your home and is also not your work, but you can still be social and meet up with people and build a community there. And if you don't want to spend money, where can you go? I've been walking around today, it's raining, and I don't necessarily want to sit in a park. And if I want somewhere with shelter, I'm probably going to have to choose a cafe or somewhere where I'm paying for a service, which is fine if that's what you want to do. But if you don't necessarily have the money for that, you probably have to go back home. And that's essentially the crux of the problem. Society is dealing with a lot of isolation and a lot of lack of community. And I think it really comes down to the lack of third spaces. If you don't want to spend money, where can you go?
Esther, the famous third places. Can you talk to us about them, especially how you're observing them around you in LA, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest conversations that me and my friends have is always talking about lack of third spaces. It's very, very expensive nowadays, especially like in cities like LA, to try and go out with your friends without spending obscene amounts of money. I think third spaces are so important. And also that those third spaces have what one of my friends calls a gravity point. This is like points of connection where people are able to connect on things that, you know, we have the same morals, the same values. It's not just a place that you're able to show up and kind of socialize and, again, very surface level, but like, are we able to do meaningful things even like locally, you know, charity work or creative things and like things where we can really connect? I think that's lacking a lot. And usually the only thing people want to do is like maybe go out and eat. And so I think this also connects to the economy, which is, you know, another really big complaint that I think my friends have is, you know, how are we supposed to go out to these third spaces or to socialize when we're working really long hours and we're really burnt out, and it just feels like very hopeless. So people, I think, are just tired. And even if they did have a place to go, like there's no place to go.
Annie, can you talk to me about the place you're from and where you live? Because, I mean, coming from Latin America, I'm from Brazil. The experience is slightly different there. I live in the Middle East now, but the experience growing up was different in Brazil. Would you say Asian culture is more prone to loneliness?
That's a great question. Look, I think it's hard to say immediately whether Asian culture is more prone to loneliness, but there are certainly many cultural factors that we can consider in this kind of discussion. So I think the two cultural factors that we should consider is social rigidity and relational mobility. So I'll just quickly explain what that is. So social rigidity refers to how strict a set of societal norms or expectations might be. And in a culture with high social rigidity, you might really not like the social roles or expectations that are placed on you, and you might feel trapped, but it's hard to break out. And then the other factor was relational mobility. So in relational mobility basically just measures how easy it is to meet new friends and form new friendship circles. And in cultures with low relational mobility, so these are places like North Africa, like the Middle East, like East Asia, it's really hard for you to make new friends as easily because it's just not in the culture. And the reason why I bring up these two cultural factors in assessing loneliness in Asia, as you've mentioned, is because if we take a look at Japan, for example, it's a place of high social rigidity and low relational mobility, one of the highest and lowest in the world. And what that means is if you feel trapped in Japan in your social roles or expectation, it's hard for you to break out. And also it's hard for you to make new friends. I think that's something we don't think about enough when we think about loneliness, because often when we think about loneliness, it's about what it's like in the present. But actually, we should consider how it is for us in the future as well. And what I mean by this is if we're in a place with high relational mobility, meaning it's easy for us to make new friends, this would be somewhere like the United States, for example. I might feel lonely now, but if I know that I can make friends easily later, like I move to a new city, I'm lonely now, but I have confidence that I can make friends in the future, that is a lot easier for us to handle with the sense of loneliness we feel. But then again, in an Asian culture where you have low relational mobility, if I'm lonely now and I'm hopeless at my prospects of making friends in the future, that can really exacerbate the sense of loneliness that I feel.
Wow. So she thinks that it's easy to make friends in the United States. That's interesting. It is not. Because most people are superficial and it's only become harder and harder. Tom, I don't understand this comment. I've seen it before, that you leave this comment saying Dan Rather will be joining Carol with the news. Maybe 5 minutes late, informants have told me. What does that mean? I've seen that comment that you've left before, so I'm trying to figure it out. Can't. So loneliness is a big problem today, and an awful lot of people are experiencing it. So no, the cyber world did not bring us together. It actually tore us apart. It tore us apart. Because in the cyber world, well, those of us who actually wanted to learn, use the internet for what its purpose, good purpose is, a whole lot of people didn't want to go there. And then you try to talk to those in your social circle about what you've learned, and wow, you sure do get a lot of backlash that's very negative, right? And then your social circle becomes tinier and tinier. You're on the in the cyber world more and more, and you learn after a while that you can't trust anybody. That's not good. It's certainly not good for people who really need to connect with people. Those who lie about people in the cyber world, they're lying about people in their real life. And yeah, it is, they're so destructive that it is, and I don't think they understand how destructive they are, because they're kind of insulated. They've insulated themselves from anybody calling them out. And you're not a friend if you don't call your friends out on behaviors that you know are not right. But a whole lot of people don't want to go there, so they're not friends. They're just someone to pass time with. And there's an awful lot of people, and I'm going to post a link because this, I just played half of this. They have a lot of very good things to say about our societies, and the whole social media thing. You know, it's like, also, I don't know if any of you are experiencing this, but the cyber world, you know, first of all, how do you know the people that you are actually talking to or having some kind of cyber relationship with are genuine, authentic, speaking the truth? I have experienced, and look, continuity with me has always been an issue for me, maintaining continuity. But even as I've tried to maintain continuity in the cyber world, it's very difficult. People just come and go. They come and go. A whole lot of people, you don't even know where they've went, right? And the issue of the lack of trust. You know, you're not going to connect with people if you can't trust them. Trust is fundamental to connection with one another. You know, the understanding of one another. And true listening and talking face to face, or even on the telephone, instead of getting a tweet, you know. You can't get real support from people in the cyber world. You know, I mean, people will tweet Oh, sorry you're having a hard time. Oh, okay, good. That doesn't provide solace for people. It is so sad, that I can only speak to our American society, and there are so few who really consider and keep conscious the importance of maintaining trust in relationships. And you get to find out how important you were to people when they lie to you and you call them out. Ah, we really weren't friends. Oh, you really didn't love me. Oh, okay. Relationship has been about you. In the cyber world, okay. So I got this, it's amazing to me how people think that they can say whatever they want to say in the comment section, and I should never have a response to it. Never have a response to it. Now, I put it out there, how I'm feeling. I'm chronically stressed. I have said I feel very depressed. I have no life. This is it for me. And how many times do I say on a live stream, really important to keep your word, really important not to lie, really important to live honestly, speak honestly, not create an awful lot of division, derision in this, chat, and not just my live stream, but everybody's. Don't do it in the cyber world. We have enough on our plate. Okay, so this comment comes, not one stream goes by, Carol tells her, one of her not written very well. No wonder she loses friends. Oh. Intention to hurt. That's the intention. No, I don't have friends. Way too many people lie, and I can't deal with people who lie. I left my social network, my tribe of the liberal Democrat Northeasterners, and I have not found a tribe since. Anybody who would understand and has listened and has been a subscriber for a period of time would understand that my life has just been tossed all over the place. New place, new place, new place. No, I don't have friends. So why would you want to hurt someone? Okay. And the cyber world, there's a lot of people who consider people in the cyber world their friends. And I've seen it, oh, I'm your friend. No, you're not. You're a subscriber. Let's really, it's very important to understand, the definitions of relationships, what they're about. How could you be a friend when I don't even know who you are, what you look like, and I see some comments in the chat? Is that a friend? No. Do a lot of people not know what a friend is? I guess so. You have friends in your real life. Now, you might strike up a pretty important cyber relationship with people, and I'm not going to diminish that relationship. It's important, for sure. So, it's when I see that, and I haven't seen it recently, but I haven't really been talking on this subject. Friends have your back. They have your back. So I'll see a lot, and it's not just relating to me, but other people. And I say, oh, I have your back, to somebody who's talking, you know, in a video that's having a really hard time or whatever. I've got your back. How do you have somebody's back when you don't even know them, you're not around them, and, you know, when people are experiencing practical losses, and then people say they have their back, what kind of communication do we have? It's pretty piss poor, you know, as far as I'm concerned. Now, I know that a lot of people don't like hearing me talk like this. Sorry. Unfortunately, I'd say I got to my authentic self. The one thing that you can absolutely... No, I have no hope that I'll have a tribe, Miles. None. Not at this point, and I'm in a place that there's nothing I can do. There's no way to create a life here for me, and so, no. But my circumstances are very different than a lot of people. So, yeah. No, never, because Marsha has left horrible comments to me. And look, a lot of it has to do, this comment came from me calling out a subscriber for leaving a comment about Jamie Lee not being dead. He's still alive. He's still alive. So that comment, people don't understand that your comments, what you write in the cyber world, influences other people. Okay, what's the influence? Jamie Lee is lying. Deborah Tavares is lying. I'm lying. Other friends of Jamie Lee's are lying. But they double down. When I see that comment and I say something that counters what the comment says, they'll double down, which is exactly what happened. Doubling down. Can't believe anything online. What are you here for then? Okay, entertainment, obviously. What is that about? Why would anybody say that? That is upsetting. That's a lie. Okay, so because I'm calling that person out, not one stream goes by Carol doesn't tell one of her subscribers off. And I wrote, I guess you think it's perfectly okay to lie. And there was another comment, and I just said, the old Marsha is back. And what does she write? Well, if you didn't tell your subscribers off, if you didn't tell your subscribers off, nor your blatant disdain for Christians. Oh, that's the old Marsha's back. I don't have blatant disdain for Christians. But if you say anything about the hypocrisy of a Christian, then boom. I've dealt with this for 13 years. Christians, there's an awful lot of them. When you even mention anything, talk about a group you can't criticize, they come at you. They attack you. So much so that when I have posted videos asking questions, you know, to Christians, and anything relating to Christians, I've had Christians email me because they're afraid to leave a public comment because they will get attacked. And they've emailed me saying, thank you. Thank you for speaking about Christian hypocrisy. So if anybody is a real Christian, they wouldn't be writing comments like this. They would be thinking and considering and realizing, if they could see the truth, that, yeah, on the whole, there's a big problem with a whole lot of Christians not behaving like Christians. So, so if you didn't tell your subscribers off your blatant disdain for Christians, God, you would not get a complaint from me. Never judged you, pretty much accepted you the way you are, but wow, yeah, I see how you are. I see how you are. How dare you call out somebody for lying about somebody who died and claiming they're alive? How dare you, Carol, do that? Okay. But then it wasn't just about Jamie Lee. It was about my disdain for Christians. I have profound respect for Christians who actually try to live as an example of their Christianity, try to put into practice how Jesus lived the best they can on a daily basis. If most of my friends have been Christians, how could I have disdain for Christians? So something's wrong there. And, of course, the next day, another post. When you told off about my opinions on pit bulls, okay, nothing like conflating the issue. So we went from Jamie Lee to my disdain for Christians, now to pit bulls, and I told her off. See, there's an awful lot of people who are so incredibly sensitive that if you say anything that counters what they say, which I have a vague memory of the comment from Marsha, which was something about how pit bulls are really dangerous, and it was just, the whole breed. And I said, it's the way that they are raised, and the two-legged destroyed that breed. You have to find incredible breeders of pit bulls, and you have to raise them in a way that they become incredible dogs. But that's pretty much what I said. But no, you told off about my opinions on pit bulls. Yeah, I have a hard time letting that go. Okay, by the way, this is the first and one and only time I ever heard you say anything positive about Christians. Have I said positive things about one entire group? I'm trying to think. Not Republicans, not Democrats, not Zionists. So I don't even understand, when you're bringing in all of this stuff, and a whole lot of people do it in real life. If there's a problem, they don't attend. They can't stay actually present on the issue. Suddenly they conflate it with all of this stuff, and you're like, okay. It kind of drowns you, and there's no resolution to the issue. I remember an entire video devoted to the condemnation of them. Never have I posted a whole video condemning Christians. Never. Never. Link to that video, Marsha. But do you see, now it's not just me, but people leaving comments like this about other people in the cyber world has an influence on other people. This is all lies from Marsha. It influences other people, and that's what breaks down trust. We do need to be very careful about what we say. And it's interesting to me because other Christians will say, I've never heard you condemn Christians on the whole. I've never heard, here, Silent Walk, you've never said anything wrong about Christians. I say things wrong about hypocrites, liars, people who do not live the values and principles that they speak. And I don't think that anyone could deny that, considering how many Christians we've had, and we still have a majority of our population are Christian. I want to ask, and I've asked, and not one person has ever answered, how the hell did this country get so evil? As far as I'm concerned, if you have these very powerful beliefs, and it's coming from the Bible and Jesus, then that I would think that people would be trying their best to live in accordance with Jesus's principles. So when I see that a whole lot don't, that upsets me, because I know the destructive power of that. It's a betrayal. It's a betrayal of Jesus. It's a betrayal of God. And when I have brought up in the Bible, very clear, one short sentence from God, lying is an abomination. And do you know that I have not been able to have a conversation with a Christian about that one sentence? So you can attack me, you can claim that I hate this, I hate them, go ahead, but you're lying. You just refuse to hear what I am saying. But I'll go on. I listened for a while because, yeah, some Christians can be hypocrites. Okay. But I could feel the condemnation coming through my computer screen and couldn't take it anymore and shut you off. Then your comment about the 10 Commandments and so much for church and state. When other truthers, yes, there are others beside you, oh my God, and I don't consider them liars, who explained that, but not in the context you're talking about. You sound just like the commies running things on that issue. And I also recall you showing a posting from Twitter about Nigerian Christians being persecuted, and you're like, well, sure, they really are being persecuted. Never said that. Totally discounting and denying that truth. You act like you know everything, and you really don't. And then she gets somebody saying one of her videos criticized Jesus, not Christians, but Jesus Christ, and you could feel her hate for him. I was so disgusted, I turned it off. So it goes on, you know, I mean, it's remarkable. Never have I criticized Jesus Christ. Never. Never. In fact, what I have said numerous times is, whether real or not, whether real or myth, I don't care. Jesus Christ is a personification of really how we should all be behaving. No other character, no other person, no other writing about a two-legged has been more powerful. I've said that numerous times. I've also said that while I'm not a Christian, I have used Jesus Christ as a power of example, and out of nowhere, when confronted with having to do something that is something I don't want to do for somebody or inconvenient or whatever, throughout the years, decades, I'll hear out of nowhere in my mind, what would Jesus do? And the answer comes immediately. And then I do it. So, why do people lie? Why do people want to hurt other people? What is that about? Because as you can call yourself a Christian, I don't see you as a Christian. Not at all. I mean, and then the thread of that is just pure gossip. I've gone on to other people's videos on other channels and then scroll down and look at the comments and see people talking about me, how I hate Christians, all of these Christians gossiping about me, how I hate Christians. All I want is for Christians to be authentic, to be real, and to get out there and really try their best to be Christ-like. No, nobody can be perfect. No one's asking for perfection. But if you claim to be a Christian, that's what you're trying to do. That's what you are trying to do every single year. I mean, every single day. And you sure as hell are not lying and gossiping. So, is it important to make sure that what you are saying is true? Is it important to make sure that what you are saying is not hurting other people? Of course it is. Of course it is. But what it does, these people are so destructive that they are just demolishing trust, whatever little bit we have in the cyber world, you know, and Marsha, years. I mean, she left comments underneath my videos about how I hated Christians. Then she stopped for a while, and now it's back. So, yeah. Do I trust Marsha? Absolutely not. You know, and I know the destructive power of lies. You hurt people's reputation. You're influencing other people with your very unreal perspective based on what you hear, not based on what's heard, what's being said. So, yeah. And I just don't think that it's fair for Christians that they can say whatever it is that they want to say, and then everybody has to shut up and can't say anything. That's not fair. Now there's a lot of you. And, you know, people have asked, well, why do you always focus on, I don't always focus on Christians. But there's a lot of you. And there's a lot of you who are destroying trust, and I don't like it. And you could have had such a powerfully positive influence in the world, because there's so many of you. You could have reshaped our American society. But it didn't happen. So, I have, you know, it's kind of like Scott Peck, who wrote People of the Lie. And I always remember Scott Peck, when he writes in the introduction, he said, one of the reasons why he wrote People of the Lie, which is the evil that not a lot of people are talking about, that comes from essentially malignant narcissism, but for sure narcissism, but malignant narcissism is far worse. That's what the book is. The introduction, because he became a Christian himself and took it very seriously, his Christianity, and he wrote that book saying in the introduction that he hopes that it would inspire more Christians to take their Christianity seriously. I'm not the only one who sees this. A whole lot of people talk about it. But a whole lot of people also don't want to get the backlash from an awful lot of Christians who hear something differently. And I'm tired of it. I got tired of it years ago. And I've also said that show me a real Christian and I will walk the path with them. That doesn't sound like someone who has disdain for Christians. That doesn't sound like somebody who hates Christians. And that whole person lying about how I said something about Jesus Christ, no. Never would I, never will I, and still use Jesus as a power of example. No other example is better out there. Okay, so a lot of people lie, a lot of people gossip, a lot of people gaslight, a lot of people scapegoat, a lot of people who don't want to change will attack people who actually say things that they don't like. They're children. They haven't matured. So, and boy, do we need it. We absolutely 100% need it. People are hurting. People are hurting. People have no connection. We need the truth. We need people to speak honestly. We need people to stop throwing out their shit onto other people because they just don't want to do the work to change. Now, I absolutely admit 100%, I'm hard. There are certain things that no more do I even compromise. So I can be also rather firm, and it sounds caustic. I readily admit I try to, do the best that I can, but considering my circumstances and what I live every single day, it's very difficult. Very difficult. It is. It's very difficult. So, but I do the best that I can, and I continue to try to change and bring my best self, and sometimes it just does not look good. I admit it, absolutely. But I'll tell you what the damage has been to me personally. I don't talk to anyone anymore. I have a few subscribers in the UK, in Ecuador that I talk to. The inconsistency that I've seen with people scares me. It scares me. I've had other people that have done things that have made my life hard by emailing other people how they feel about certain things that have happened to me without my permission. That then comes back at me. I've asked for the emails. I don't get them. They said that they would send them. Nope. I asked 3 times, never got the email, but they show up in the chat like nothing happened. That to me is very strange. But that to me means that's not somebody who's trustworthy. Oh, that might hurt, but sorry, you've hurt me. Or I've heard from other subscribers, and they'll mention their distrust of somebody, and then in the chat I see that they want to become friends with them. I don't get it. You know, it's I will say this, I trust people who are consistent. And when I see this inconsistency going on, it has now backed me into such a corner, considering everything that I've gone through with subscribers, that it has left me so isolated. That's the destruction that people bring about. You destroy other people's lives. I will absolutely say that, and it's not dramatic. That's what lies do. That's what gossip does. That's what, you destroy somebody's reputation when you put in, oh, how much I hate Christians, when I so don't. I don't care what other people believe. I care what people do, how they operate in life. You can believe, you can believe Bozo the Clown is going to come back as the Antichrist. Whatever. All I'm saying is, what you do is far more important to me than what you say you are. I want to see it. I want to see what you say you are. I want to see it operating in your life. The one friend that I can say I still love, she's not in my life anymore, was Christian. But she lied and lied and lied and didn't care. Didn't care. And it was ripping me to shreds, because it was at a time that I was really feeling the destruction of the lies from my own malignant narcissistic family that destroyed my fucking reputation, that rendered me homeless. And she knew how important trust was for me, and she didn't care. And that's when I realized, holy shit, say what you want, say anything about yourself, I don't care. What you do is essential, because there are other people out there that see you for who you really are. When that friend, and I was amazed that I could actually love a friend. I was like, holy shit, I changed. And she was a godsend. I was like, oh my God. She actually said to me, she would laugh when I would bring up the lying. She said to me, I didn't know saying something that was untrue is a lie. And I still tried. And I just couldn't anymore because it was ripping me to shreds. But when people don't care what they do to you, that's a Marsha. And I'm sorry, look, you get to say all this stuff publicly and I don't get to respond? No, it doesn't work that way. So, my trust is pretty much gone. That means I'm screwed. That means I live every day hurting. So for all of the liars in my life and all of the people in the cyber world who don't like what I've said, you've had a profoundly destructive effect. But you'll complain and bitch about all of the liars in government, in mainstream media. And to that, I just say, hello. You will know them by their fruits. Absolutely. Absolutely curious. And look, it's... People have said, oh, Christians have hurt you. That's why you're so anti-Christian. No, I'm not even anti-Christian. I take every individual as they come. Every individual. I don't care. Color of skin, religious creed, whatever. I don't care. Now, there are things that you can say about every group on the whole, but it's on the whole, and understanding that it's on the whole, when you're meeting somebody who's new, you don't immediately just drop all of the stereotypes onto that individual. And I most certainly don't do that. What the fuck? You serious, Carol? What is that? Do you understand that we have a different relationship? You see me, you've seen me every day on a daily basis. I don't see you. I don't know what you look like. I don't know what you sound like. So presumptions, and I've spoken on that numerous times, that people really need to catch their presumptions that they make. It's fascinating sometimes reading about who I am to somebody else, and I am not that person. And one sticks out. I can't remember the specifics, but it went on paragraphs about how I was raised upper middle class. My parents had sent me to college and they paid, and going on in detail. And it was so opposite of what they were saying. And I realized, holy shit, there's a lot of people out there that have these presumptions about people, especially in the cyber world, but it goes on in real life too. And it's a complete lie. If you're not aware of the presumptions that you're thinking and then speak, you end up lying, because very often presumptions are not true. So, yeah, it's think about the content of your character. I'm reading Tonet's. It comes down to content of character, and not a lot of people even think about, their own character and how they really do operate in the world. They're unaware of the negative influence that they have. They're unaware of how much they hurt other people. Oh. Okay, C. Angel. Okay, I didn't get it. Thank you for the clarification. I was talking about your friend saying she didn't know lying was wrong. I've had Christians want to teach me what a lie is. I know what lying is. And it's when I call them out, that's when they want to teach me about what a lie is. And I'm like, I'm in my 60s. I know what lying is. You don't have to teach me. Look, I am also not someone who considers themselves to be above everyone else, or that I'm this enlightened being. No, absolutely not. In fact, every single day now, I'm actually afraid to talk to people because I don't think anyone wants to talk to me. That's the damage of all of these subscribers and everything that has taken place. And not having any connection in real life or life, and being alone and isolated so much. I am literally now thinking, but it's not like it hurts me. I just think that, well, people would prefer not to talk to me, so I don't reach out. I don't feel good about myself. I respect myself, and considering where I'm from, I think that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. So it's, let's just say this experience, and it being quite public, has really done a number on my ego. So, can we be kinder to one another? Can we really watch what we say? Can we grow and mature? Can we focus on what's truly important? And the most important is speaking honestly, living honestly, for sure. Because if you're not doing that, you're creating a lot of shit for other people to suffer, because you go about it unawares of the wake that you leave behind. So, but it also got to the point where it's like, with subscribers, it got way too much for me to even continue reading emails when, I would read like a sentence and I'd go, okay, I know the tone of this and I can't go there. Everyone that I've had in my life as subscribers have a life. They haven't lived what I've lived. And I don't know one person who has understood that. And when judgment comes about, and based on their own experience of life, and not recognizing my experience, no matter how much I've spoken it, it's been very hard for me to continue, because I have been so overwhelmed, so exhausted, so just trying trying to keep going on a daily basis. If I didn't have the cats, I'd be in my car. And that would be okay. You know, everything has been just trying to figure out a place to live with the cats. And then dealing with an awful lot of people who, they're not listening to somebody else's experience. You know, there's an awful lot of work that we need to do to really listen to one another. You know, when somebody is calling somebody out on their insensitivity, it doesn't mean that they're sensitive. And then you throw out whatever security that you had given that person. It's remarkable how we don't even know really how to relate to one another on a outside of the superficial. And that to me is very sad. It's very sad, you know, to learn that we can't seem to resolve even the slightest problems. But I will tell you this, I just got too tired. I got really tired. And there's a very big difference between the person who posts and the subscribers. And there's an awful lot that goes on that subscribers don't know. They're being piled on. And I've been piled on way too much, and it just gets to a point where I just can't do it. I'll continue doing what I'm doing because it's important to me, and I think it's the most important thing that anybody can be doing. Trying their best to get the word out and recognizing what's going on a daily basis. But, and I'm sorry to those that have had to suffer the consequences of my not just being so thoroughly exhausted. And I've said to many people, I can't write anymore. I can't write. So, and for those who only want to have an email relation, I don't know you. I don't want to have an email relationship with people. I just don't. You know, as far as I'm concerned, the emailing is for a purpose, you know, and, but you're never going to have any kind of, you know, real connection with me via email. I'm very old school. I'm very old school. I want to go back to the days before the internet. I am so not addicted, you know, and I think to myself about that dopamine hit when people scroll or get a like and they get a dopamine hit. How does that work? I could understand it with the Gen Zers because this is their world, right? Staring at a cell phone, social media presence, incredibly important. A whole lot don't even have a real life. So, somebody liked what I posted. But all of those who are older, I don't understand how they could be so addicted to this. It's and especially, you know, the YouTube used to be great before Google. I was like wowed. I never did Facebook or YouTube or, you know, any of it. And I came on because I started doing research on what I was seeing in the sky, and I said, this ain't right. And so I did a Google search or something, I think, if it was Google, if I was even using Google. And I saw YouTube videos. Came up, and that was my first encounter with YouTube. I clicked on, one of the search results, brought me to YouTube, and I was wowed. I was like, holy shit, there's a lot of people here. And wow, a lot of people are talking about what I'm seeing in the sky. And that's when YouTube worked. That's when people were really working with one another, sharing information, circulating information. Now, as far as I'm concerned, it's just crap. Not that you guys are. I'm not saying that. Just trying to use YouTube as that research vehicle that it used to be. That's gone. And it ain't coming back, for sure. We know that. Google, the whole internet experience. I have a lot bookmarked. I click on a bookmark, page error or whatever. So much has been put down the memory hole. This is why I don't like the cyber world, because there's too many people who are pretending to be something that they're not. And yeah, I'm sorry, but subscribers will say, I have had so many subscribers who have claimed to live a certain way, and then I meet them, and I'm horrified to find out how much they have lied. So, it's, that's, and the lack of awareness that people have in themselves. All of the emails to me, written quite nicely, claiming to have, the same family that I have and all of this, and then you meet them. And you're like, are you fucking kidding me? Wow. They don't even have an awareness of their lies to me, and I'm coming to meet them, and I'm going to find out the truth. That to me is very strange. So, when you've had so many of those experiences, I will take you at your word for whatever it's worth. I don't know you, though. I don't like that feeling. But other people suffer the consequences. Those who are honest here, right, and careful, working on themselves, have an awareness, don't want to hurt anyone, they suffer the consequences of all of those who are not doing what they're doing. Because the breakdown in trust is not just, oh, poor Carol doesn't trust anyone. The ripple effect of it is that, how can I trust you? That should piss everyone off. And a whole lot of people don't need it. I do. I have desperately needed it because of the circumstances that I've been living. People don't care, though. They don't care what they do to other people. And some of them are Christian. And that is not a Christian. That should not ever happen. So, it's 6:55. As far as I'm concerned, this is the most important work that we need to do on one another, on ourselves, I mean, and so that we can live honestly and speak honestly, so that we can get to that authentic self. And frankly, if you believe that God is your creator, Why haven't you done the work to get to your authentic self? If you haven't, that is the ultimate betrayal. You betray God by not getting to your authentic self. It's slapping God in the face. So, thank you for showing up. I do hope to see you again. There's always room for improvement. We can always be better than we are. So, please stay safe. And help those in your community. Help those in need. Help those friends of yours. If you claim to have people's back, that means you're in your life, you're in their life, and that you will really have their back when things go wrong. A whole lot is going wrong for an awful lot of people. So, yeah. Good night and good luck. Ciao, guys. Oh, boy. You have so many little bites on your ears, sweetie. You don't want them? Little one. Little one. I'll go get your cheese. In a minute. In a minute. Here you go. You can have the little one's treats. Oh.